Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Javert Clark, and today it brings me great pleasure to bring to you the communication principles. Being circulated are handouts on the 7 C's of effective communication, which we'll review in detail today. Now, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to attend today. I know it's very snowy out, so I appreciate you coming and being engaged, an engaged audience. Thank you so much. Today, what we will look at is, what is effective communication? Why should we as project managers communicate effectively? We'll dive deeply into the 7 C's of effective communication. We'll follow it up with a summary of all we reviewed today. At the end, I'll be more than happy to take any questions you may have. So let's jump right into it. So to start, all of us here can communicate. We all communicate on a daily basis. We communicate with our friends, we communicate in our marriages, we communicate all the time. But are we really being effective? According to the PMI.org, effective communication is one's ability to exchange information from one point of your project to the other in an efficient manner. It is said that 90% of a project manager's time is spent communicating. As we can see here, for project managers, communication is an art. Communication is seen as the lifeblood of the project. Why is this? Because without effective communication, our projects are not successful. We have to communicate effectively from initiating to closing. Very important. So let's look at this clearly. According to the Harvard Business Review on effective communication, the #1 criteria for advancement and promotion is the ability to communicate effectively. We all want to be promoted. We all want different increases in our pay. These are advancements. And the #1 criteria for getting this is just to communicate effectively. And of course, 90% of our time is already spent doing this. So it's important that we know how to do this very well. Now, why should project managers communicate effectively? Now, more effective and efficient communication equals greater project management. As we can see here, the success of any project is largely dependent on how effective you can communicate as project managers. It has been found that the breakdown of communication is the reason for a failure of most projects. And I'm pretty sure we've all experienced projects that had failure. Most of the time, it is due to a communication breakdown. Now, there's a startling statistic to the left. 57% of all projects fail due to a breakdown in communication. 57% due to a breakdown in communication. Now, last year alone in the US economy, they spent $150 billion in the IT sector on new projects. If we are to calculate that, 57% of $150 billion is $85.5 billion in lost revenue due to failure in communication. If any one of you guys in here had $85.5 billion, you'd be the 4th richest person in the world behind Warren Buffett. Now, a couple weeks ago, I attended a networking event, and I met a database developer here in Toronto. He's currently employed at Rogers. I was in the middle of introducing myself, saying, "Hey, I'm a project management student at Lambton College." He said, "Oh, you are one of them." "One of them? What do you mean?" "You are one of those email-aholics. Let me ask you a personal question. Do you email your wife, 'Honey, what's for dinner?'" I'm like, "Okay." I had a laugh. No, it's no secret that we as project managers, we use emails a lot. Now, why is this? Why is this reliance on email communication? Let's explore that today. Now, a few years ago, I got my very first project to lead. I was so excited and scared because you want to be successful, right? So I called my mentor. I have a mentor named Stacy. She's an African-American project manager and she works with the US government. So I called her for tips and tricks on how to ensure my project is smooth and goes successful. One of the main things she taught me was that, Javert, at the end of every meeting where a decision is made or a project is delegated, be sure you send a follow-up email to all the stakeholders involved. This will ensure people are accountable and people take action. That's very busy. I'm pretty sure you've all seen it before. At my previous place of employment, you go to meetings with your stakeholders and your boss. And other project team members, they would say, absolutely, Javert, if you need anything, contact me. But guess what? After the meeting has ended and you contact them, hey, can you help me out? What? No, you know? They start giving you an attitude. They don't want to help you anymore. But when the stakeholder and the CEO is there, they're the nicest person on earth. But if you send them an email, as Sir taught us a few weeks ago, it's your scapegoat. Because whenever something goes wrong in your project, if you communicate it efficiently in an email and send it to your personnels, then you always have proof. So it's your scapegoat. You have, well, you didn't do your deliverables. Here's the email that I sent you many times asking you, what is the update? And maybe you can get the person changed off the project, or you can get a new person. Now, according to the 7 C's of effective communication, they can make communication more effective and efficient. So the 7 C's of effective communication is a 7-point checklist item that is used to increase communication. There are 7 action items. It says your communication must be clear. Your communication must be concise. Your communication must be concrete. And your communication must be correct. As you can see here, your communication must also be coherent. Your communication must also be complete. And lastly, but not least, your communication should be courteous. So this helps us not only with verbal communication, written communication, but also email communication as project managers. So let's have a look at each of these action items step by step. Now, clear. As project managers, it is important that we are communicating clearly to our stakeholders. As we can see here, ask yourself, what is the purpose of communicating this? If I don't know this topic very well, then I can't explain it to you. You should think about it. To be clear, minimize the number of ideas in each sentence. Make it easy for your reader to understand. Your stakeholders should never have to read between the lines to understand what you're trying to communicate with them. It should be clear. They can see it on the surface. Now, let's have a look at this in the form of a project manager's favorite medium, email. Now, I'll need your help with this one to tell me if this email is clear. Now, email 1. Hi, Paul. I wanted to write you a quick note about Andrea, who is working in your department. She's a great asset, and I'd like to talk to you more about her when you have time. This is email A. Email B. Hi, Paul. I'd like to send you a quick note about Andrea Jimenez, who is working in your department. In recent weeks, she has helped the IT team through several pressing deadlines on her own time. We've got a tough upgrade project due to her in the next 3 months, and her knowledge and skills would prove invaluable. Could you please have her help with this project? I'd appreciate speaking to you about this. When is the best time to call and discuss this? Now, which of these emails do you have clear understanding of what Javert is trying to say to Paul? Which email do you think is correct? B. If you said email B, then you are 100% correct. Great job. Now, let's look at our next checkpoint items. Now, you want to be sure you remember these because they may come on your exam. Our next checkpoint item is concise. When your message is concise, you stick to your point and you are brief about your message. You ask yourself, are you really communicating this message accurately? You eliminate fluff words and filler words. Now, many of you write journals and different, you want to make it up to the word count. So sometimes it's tempting to put filler words in there and fluff words. Like for example, you can use for instance, you see, definitely, kind of, literally, and basically. These are fluff words, filler words, and they take away from the message of what you're trying to interpret to your audience. So if you eliminate these words, your audience has a clearer picture of what you're trying to communicate. Now, ask yourself, are there any unnecessary sentences in your paragraph? Have you repeated the same idea several times? It's always important when you're trying to make a concise message. Let's take a look at another email. Now, email 1. Hi, Mariana. I wanted to touch base with you about an email marketing campaign we kind of sketched out last Thursday. I really think our target market is definitely going to want to see the company's philanthropical effort. I think it could make a big impact and it would stay in their minds longer. For instance, if we talk about the company's effort to become sustainable as well as the charity work we're working on in local schools, then people will want to be attracted and remember our message longer. The impact will be greater. Versus email B, we're looking at conciseness, so we want to shrink the message. Hi Mariana, I wanted to quickly discuss the email marketing campaign we analyzed last Thursday. Our target market will want to know more about our company's philanthropical effort. especially our goals to become more sustainable in local schools. This would make for a far greater impact and it would stay in their mind longer than a traditional sales pitch. Which of these emails is more concise, packed properly? Which email do you believe? B? If you said B, then you are 100% correct. Let's move on to our third checkpoint item, concrete. When your message is concrete, your message is clear. There is details, but not too many. You have vivid facts and statistics to support your evidence. As you can see here, there's laser-like focus and your points are solid. You develop your points accurately each time. Now, if we take a look at concrete messages, we can see one here. Hi Bella, how much time do you spend every day packing your kids' lunches? No more. Just take a complete lunchbox wizard from your refrigerator each day and give your kid a happy, healthy meal. And have lunch with them more and play and read with them. Versus email B, the lunchbox wizard will save you time every day. Which email gave you facts, gave you relevant information? A? Nobody saying B this time? No. So you are correct. You guys are smart. You're absolutely correct. So it's email A. Now, correctness. It's important when we're presenting to an audience that our information is correct. If I give you incorrect information, you won't appreciate it. Now, correctness is a very tricky subject. Why? Because it also talks about grammar issues, punctuation. When your communication is correct, it is error-free. And that's a tricky topic, right? So when you ask yourself, are you using technical terms that nobody understands? So for example, Harinder there, he's in IT. So if you're a stakeholder talking with Harinder, you don't want to hear about pseudocode. Nobody understands what he's talking about, function and loops and so forth. If you're not in the IT industry, it's hard for you to understand. If you're an engineer talking about mass index and critical path and so forth for your bridges and so forth, your stakeholders may not understand you. So you have to use layman terms. For example, Mariana is in business. If she's talking about ROI, the Dow, the index, and so forth, for a layman like me, it's going to be a bit difficult. So we're going to look at an example again in the form of an email. Now, before we move on, there's one important point here also. Check to make sure you have no grammatical errors. Now, remember, spell checkers won't save you here. So even though you may use Grammarly, you may use Microsoft Word, and you see those little green and red squiggly lines, for correct messages, it may not always save you. So it's important that you understand your topic, understand what you're saying. We're going to look at an example and it's going to be a bit more clearer. And this last point is very important. I know it seems very trivial. Oh, really? It's just spelling somebody's name and title wrong. At my previous university, if you called somebody, for example, Mr. Clark or Mrs. Clark, and they did their doctorate, even if they did their doctorate in zoology, they would be quite upset. They're not even going to reply to your email. No, I'm not Mr. Clark, I am Dr. Clark. So you have to be careful with those titles. So let's look at this in form of an email. Correct. So, hi Bavinka, thank you so much for meeting me at lunch today. I enjoyed our conversation, and I'm looking forward to moving ahead in our project. I am sure that the 2-week deadline won't be an issue. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you soon. Now, Bavinka isn't here, but if you can read the other example to the left, which example here do you believe is correct? Can anybody spot the correct example? B?
Or conversation.
Ah, I see. So guess what? If you were to put this to Grammarly or any spell checker, this email will get 100%. There is nothing grammatically wrong with it. There is no incorrect spelling, but it doesn't make sense. Let's look why. As we can see here, meeting. No, come on. Conservation, to, this is not the correct to. As you can see here, week is also not correct. And of course, nobody should be sending an email with you. That's just unacceptable on all terms, right? So we can see here, if we were to use any spell checkers, it will say we're fine. But when your sponsor reads this, they're going to be like, no, 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 this is not good writing. Now I want your feedback. If I sent you this email, what would you do? Would you fire me or would you keep me around? Fire? I would fire me too. Okay, so let's move on to our next action item. Coherent. Now, when your message is coherent, I know it's a fancy word, but whenever your message is coherent, it flows, it is logical. Let's say you're talking about point A. You fully develop point A before you move on to point B. You don't go to point A, point Z, then go back to point A. That's when your message is logical. All points are connected. It's relevant to your main topic. So you're not talking about one thing and then you switch to another topic and then you go back. That's confusing, and that's not a coherent message. The tone and flow is also consistent. And we're going to look at an example and see how this applies to us. And remember, we're using our favorite medium for all of our examples. Now, as you can see here, email A and email B. Hi, I wanted to write you a quick note about the report you finished last week. I gave it to Jose to proofread, and he let me know that there are a few changes that need to be made. He'll email you the detailed comments later this week. That's email A. Let's look at email B. Hi, I wanted to write you a quick note about the report you finished last week. I gave it to Jose to proofread and he wanted to make sure that the department meeting we're having on Friday. He wanted to make you know about the department meeting we're having on Friday. We'll be creating the employee handbook. Now, which one of these messages flow made sense? Absolutely, email A. What we can see here is that employee handbook has nothing to do with the report. We can see here that the department meeting has nothing to do with the report. So if you have to send more than one thing in one email, try to send separate emails so your reader, your audience knows what you're talking about and it flows. This right here is just confusing. Now, our next checkpoint item, there we go. Our next checkpoint item is complete. Now, when you're sending emails or communicating, make sure you have a call to action. Use vivid details to explain your email. Now, make your audience know what you want from them. Have you included relevant information, name, contact, and location? So for example, if I say, hey guys, let's meet up at next Tuesday. What Tuesday am I talking about? Am I talking about next week Tuesday, the 19th of February, or sometime in March? Now you need to specify what Tuesday, what you're talking about. Be clear to your audience. Even though it may seem overly simple to you, it may not be to the reader, so it's best to just state it. Let's look at an example. So if we're going to look at a complete email, we'll look at email A. Hi everyone, I wanted to send you a reminder about a meeting we're having tomorrow. See you then. Versus email B. Hi everyone, I wanted to remind you about tomorrow's meeting on February 14, 2018 on the PMBOK 7th edition draft number 1. The meeting will be at 10 a.m. in room B114. Please let me know if you can't attend. Which email here do you believe is complete? B, absolutely, because we're giving them detail, we're giving them specific location and when it is happening. So this is a complete email. Awesome. Now, lastly but not least, we must always be courteous about our messages. Be friendly, be open, and be honest about our messages. Make sure there's no passive-aggressive tones, there's no hidden insults. Keep your readers' viewpoints in mind and be empathetic to their needs. So you want to be respectful at all times, even in your emails. Do not send rude emails to the person. Think about the other person's feeling and be courteous. Now they put this one in there because many of us are very technical and we think, oh, we're just going to say things straight and we don't care about how it comes off to our reader. But we should always think about how courteous we are. Now let's look at this in the form of an email. Email A, Mansi, I wanted to let you know that I don't appreciate how your team monopolizes the discussion of our weekly meeting. I have a lot of projects and I really need time to get my team's progress discussed as well. So far, thanks to your department, I haven't been able to do that. Can you make sure your team makes time for my team next week? So that's email A. Versus email B. Hi Mansi, I wanted to write you a quick note to ask you a favor. During our weekly meeting, your team does an excellent job of highlighting their progress, but this uses some of the time for my team to highlight theirs. I'd appreciate it if you can give my team a little extra time each week to go over their progress. Thanks so much, and please let me know if there is anything I can do for you. Mansi, which email would you appreciate more? B, absolutely. Nobody wants to be talking like this. So, absolutely correct. So let's move. So now we'll have our summary. So we all communicate every day, and we communicate with stakeholders, we communicate with everyone. But it's important that we are communicating effectively. Communication is not just talking and getting information. It's about connecting and engaging with your audience, engaging with your stakeholders, and engaging with different individuals. The 7 C's put forward for effective communication can ensure we do just that. It can help us to be more efficient and effective. Now, I'd like your help to see if you can remember all these things we went over today. Does anybody know the first one?
Claire.
Claire. And the other?
Concise.
There we go, there we go. And the other?
Complete.
There we go. And this is the easy one. Correct. Beautiful, beautiful. And our next one? I heard something different. And our sixth one?
Complete.
Beautiful. And lastly? Courteous. Beautiful. You all get an A plus. Beautiful. So here we have, you are absolutely correct. And you guys want to remember these and know these very well. It will help us in your future for sure. Now here's some additional reading. If you want to go over at any time, you can review these. We also have our references here. Now before we move on, I want to thank you for taking the time to allow me to present to you today. Of course, it's important that we're courteous. I want to be courteous to you. So thank you each and every one of you for being an engaged audience. I really appreciated your time. At this time, we'll go about taking your questions. Andrea?
Thanks for your presentation, Jabbar.
Thank you.
Pretty clear.
Thank you.
Do we need to fulfill all the checkpoints in order to communicate effectively?
Thank you so much for your question. So if I'm understanding you clearly, you're asking if we need to complete all 7 checkpoint items in order to make sure we're communicating effectively?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your question. So you're absolutely correct. It's really dependent on the email you're sending. So if it's applicable, you want to make sure you complete all checkpoint items. So the different areas, your message must be clear, complete, concise. When you're sending messages, you want to make sure you complete all of the applicable ones. So if it can be done, you want to do it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Mariana?
Is effective communication a learnable skill? Can I learn it?
I see. Okay. So if I'm understanding you clearly, you want to know if effective communication is learnable, correct? Thank you so much. So you are in fact correct. It is something learnable. We all born and we learn how to communicate from our parents, right? They teach us how to speak the language you speak. I was taught to speak English. We're taught basic communication. But in order for us to be effective in the business world today and make an impact, remember we looked at the Harvard Business Review. We want advancement and we want promotion. In order for us to get those advancements and get those promotions, we need to invest time and energy into our communication skills. We can read books, we can watch novels, we can do different things and invest time, money, and effort, and our communication will be greater. And this will in return lead to more promotions, more money. Any additional questions? Thank you guys so much for allowing me to present today. Thank you guys.